Public institutions function as interconnected networks. When a single node fails, the resulting bottleneck creates a ripple effect across the entire system. Friction within these networks, like service delays or policy stagnation, is rarely caused by lacking capital. It is an engineering problem rooted in individual psychological capacity. Optimizing these systems requires a structured approach to the individual. We are looking at a process of deliberate reprogramming rather than abstract motivational theory. This architecture is built in 3 distinct layers. It begins with the internal mindset. That foundation supports tactical pedagogy. The structure is completed by administrative policy. We can deconstruct this model using standardized training data and specific requirements for civil service certification. Treating administration as a technical engineering challenge provides a repeatable method for minimizing institutional drag. The entire architectural model rests on the individual's psychological baseline. The NAEM framework identifies specific behavioral markers that compromise this baseline: blame culture, closed-mindedness, and an active resistance to new policy. These behaviors generate physical administrative friction. A closed mindset directly correlates to delayed decisions and unresponsive service for public stakeholders. Overriding these behaviors requires the self-analysis cycle, a diagnostic process used to isolate and correct internal inefficiencies. This cycle utilizes the SWOT matrix as a primary diagnostic. It provides an objective map of internal capabilities and external pressures. The practitioner first identifies internal vulnerabilities. This might include a deficit in ICT literacy or a failure in time management. These vulnerabilities are then measured against the environment. A lack of technical skill becomes a critical risk when measured against rapid technological changes in the workplace. A growth mindset is the result of mapping these threats to concrete action. The practitioner moves from identifying a heavy workload to implementing time-blocking protocols and specific skill acquisition. Stabilizing the individual's psychological baseline is the prerequisite for all higher-level tactical skills. Once the mindset is stabilized, we can address the tactical output of the system: pedagogy. Pedagogical output is governed by resource trade-offs. Every teaching method balances the depth of student retention against the cost in time and materials. The traditional baseline is the teacher-centric model. The lecture method sits in this quadrant because it requires minimal resources to execute. The merits of this method are logistical. It allows for rapid syllabus completion and delivering high volumes of information to a large student body simultaneously. However, the demerits section reveals the failure point. It relies on one-way communication, significantly limiting active participation from the learner. Over-reliance on this method creates a bottleneck in critical thinking. It prioritizes the speed of delivery over the depth of long-term retention. Teacher-centric methods scale efficiently for large institutions, but at the expense of cognitive engagement. High retention rates require a shift towards student-centric models. Methodologies like the project and experimental methods force the student into an active role. These approaches change the classroom dynamic. Students are required to solve problems independently, which fosters creative development. These methods carry high logistical costs. They require more classroom hours and can lead to uneven results if the students lack a uniform intellectual baseline. A master educator functions as a dynamic operator, constantly rotating between these methods. The optimal strategy is a calculated deployment of distinct methods, chosen based on the specific learning outcome and available resources. A static tactical skill set eventually degrades as institutional demands evolve. Maintaining competence requires a continuous development loop. We can track this progression from basic teaching credentials through a lifelong series of upgrades. Leadership requires competence in macro policy, involving certification in policy analysis and sustainable governance. Keeping an institution functional requires hard operational skills. The educator must acquire specialized knowledge in public procurement and financial management. Managing citizen disputes requires specialized compliance training, including protocols for the right to information and grievance redress systems. These technical competencies are distinct from classroom pedagogy. They are the tools of institutional administration. The accumulation of these skills expands the educator's range into the broader field of state administration. Professional competence is the result of this continuous, aggregated life cycle of specialized administrative upgrades.
When these 3 layers are synthesized, they form a complete system for educational leadership. The mindset drives the system, pedagogy delivers the output, and continuous development allows for adaptation to new policy terrain. This entire architecture is powered by the growth mindset, the underlying operating system required for institutional stability. By optimizing the individual node, we reduce the aggregate friction of the entire bureaucratic network. The ultimate objective of this rigorous self-analysis is the measurable improvement of the society these institutions serve.